After the NBA draft this year, 58 players accomplished their dreams of hearing their name called, announcing that they got drafted to be an NBA player. Unfortunately though, there were a lot more than 58 players hoping for those dreams to come true, so after the fact, there were quite a few talented guys left undrafted. The good news is that, especially in today's day and age, we're seeing more players emerge as valuable NBA talent after going undrafted than ever before, and because of the increased emphasis on using the G League to develop players, along with its increased visibility, players can still very much prove to be NBA caliber guys despite being undrafted. This brings us to the topic of today's video, where we'll be discussing 6 guys in particular that didn't get drafted this year, yet in my opinion, can still prove everyone wrong and carve out NBA roles for themselves. Before we start though, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first undrafted player we'll be discussing today that I believe can overcome the obstacles and stick in the NBA is Johnny Juzang from UCLA. Juzang became a college basketball legend 2 seasons ago when he led UCLA to an unprecedented run to the Final Four while averaging about 23 points per game during that run. He showed off elite shot-making skills, clutch scoring ability, and an ability to step up and play his best basketball in the biggest moments. On top of all of that, he did it while playing on an injured ankle, so he put on a show without even being 100% healthy. In hindsight, he probably should have declared for last year's draft while his stock was soaring sky high, but he returned to UCLA hoping to propel himself further up in the draft order, and unfortunately, that backfired as he regressed a little bit this season. Despite that though, it still feels crazy to me that he didn't get drafted at all as a 6'7" scoring guard with the pedigree that he has. After going undrafted, Juzang got signed to a 2-way contract with the Utah Jazz, so he will have the opportunity to develop with their franchise while getting minutes on their G League team. He's someone that I could absolutely see tearing it up in the G League, and if that happens, it should open some doors for him down the line. The next undrafted player that I think can prove to be worthwhile NBA talent is Montero. Montero is still just 18 years old, and a year ago, he was tearing it up in Spain's 2nd division as a 17-year-old. He then chose to play in the new Overtime Elite League, which was an experiment that clearly backfired because the league didn't quite get the recognition or the talent that it was probably hoping to land, and Montero had an inconsistent showing there. A year ago, he was being viewed as a potential top 20 prospect and a lock to be in the first round, so for him to fall completely out of the draft feels like a little bit too harsh of an overreaction. Montero is an impressive athlete, he's a smart passer and playmaker, and a naturally gifted shooter, and for someone as young as he is, he still has so much potential to tap into. Of course, he's far from a finished product right now, but it would be foolish to ignore all of the promising flashes that he's shown. The New York Knicks brought him in on an Exhibit 10 deal that could potentially turn into a 2-way contract, and again, I like the fit there as the Knicks are a team with opportunities to be had at the point guard position. The next undrafted prospect that I believe in at the next level is Collin Gillespie from Villanova. Villanova players over the last 5 years or so have always, for the most part, worked out at the NBA level. Jay Wright does a phenomenal job making sure that his players are fundamentally sound, willing and able shooters, and smart defenders that defend multiple positions because Villanova switches everything defensively. Gillespie was the backbone of Villanova over the last 5 years, coming off of a Final Four berth this season too, and even though his game isn't flashy, it is productive. He's a knockdown 3-point shooter that shoots comfortably off the catch and off the dribble, he competes hard on defense despite not necessarily having the physical tools to dominate on that end, and he doesn't try to do too much, which results in smart passes being made. Gillespie got picked up by the Denver Nuggets on a 2-way contract, so that is where he will begin his journey trying to emerge into the NBA, but if he can show off his perimeter shooting, competitiveness, and overall prowess in that regard down in the G League there will be other teams ready to give him a shot too. The next undrafted prospect ready to prove everyone wrong is Harper Jr. from Rutgers. Harper made headlines this season for his countless clutch moments and game winners that he knocked down over the course of the season, and he showed time and time again that he thrives in the biggest moments. Harper is the son of former NBA player Ron Harper, and in many ways, he takes after his old man. Ron is a big guard that scored about 16 points per game this season. He's a very reliable perimeter shooter that creates good separation off the dribble to get his shot off, and he has a quick first step that he utilizes to drive past defenders when they overextend. The Toronto Raptors picked him up on a two-way contract after the draft, which I absolutely love, because as we've seen over the last few years, the Raptors are one of the best organizations at finding slept-on, undrafted talent and developing them into capable rotation players. It's the perfect place for Harper to be, because they'll definitely maximize his potential. The next undrafted prospect that I think can prove everyone wrong over time is Michael Foster from the G League Ignite program. Foster was a 5-star recruit in this year's recruiting class who decommitted from playing for Arizona State to play in the G League against professional competition. This is the kind of decision that should be getting rewarded for these young players, but unfortunately Foster's play was under a more intense microscope, which resulted in him going undrafted instead, which I just don't agree with. He had an overall solid season against better competition than his collegiate counterparts though, as he averaged about 15 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks per game in the G League, while demonstrating an improved ability to be used as a perimeter threat. He went through the pre-draft process also, showing off that he got himself into better shape, losing 14 pounds throughout, and he shot the lights out of the ball on his pro day. So from everything that I've seen from him, it baffles me that no team took a chance on him on draft night. The Philadelphia 76ers brought him in on an official NBA contract, which shows that the team believes in him to potentially make the final roster, and that's exactly the kind of start that he needed to make his way into the fold. And finally, the last undrafted prospect that we'll be discussing today is Justin Lewis from Marquette. Lewis was one of the most productive players in the Big East this season, averaging 17 points and 8 rebounds per game, and his shot-making ability was something that has stood out from me all throughout the season. To put it simply, Lewis is the kind of player that can go out and get you some tough buckets, he crashes the glass hard, and on the defensive end, he competes as hard as anybody. There is a clear path to him being able to carve out a role as a 3-and-D player over time, and his first stop will be in Chicago, as the Bulls brought him in on a 2-way contract. He works hard, he's versatile, and he has a ton more upside to tap into, so the Bulls should be excited about being able to bring him in this year. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about these undrafted players and their futures. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.